Saha, and welcome to the Insurtech Story podcast, the platform to spread knowledge on insurance innovation, digital disruptions, and entrepreneurship. Our website, insurtechstory.com, and we are available on Spotify, Apple, Google, and Amazon Music. Insurance transformation and the rise of no code is the topic of discussion for the day. And for now, I'm delighted to welcome our guest, Adrit Raha, who is the Managing Director of Asia Pacific at CoverGo. Adrit, welcome on board, and can you talk a bit about your past experiences, especially how you think of the different kinds of insurtechs? And it will be also great if you could touch upon the real world business challenges on this particular topic.
Yes, of course, Surya. Firstly, thank you very much for having me on your podcast. It's great to be here and great to share a little bit about me, my experience, and perhaps a few of my views on where this space is heading towards. So with that, let's get into it, I guess. A little bit about me. I spent most of my career in the insurance space itself. I started my career largely between two insurance companies, Royal and Sun Alliance and AIG. So I actually come from the actual insurance industry, which is a lot of fun. I then went on to, in the last 4 or 5 years, run a couple of startups. So I ran a health tech startup called Vivant, and then subsequently an insurtech startup called Simbo. And what's really
Oh,
interesting,
excellent.
yes,
Yeah, I have
thank
heard about Simbo.
yeah. So what was really interesting during that phase was the learnings that you have running startups, right?
Yeah,
So health
yeah.
tech, as a category, we tried to solve the macro problem of payer, provider, patient. We ended up doing a whole bunch of stuff. One of my greatest learnings was we stuck an app called Naira on the App Store. She was designed to be a femtech app for cycle tracking. We ended up getting about 1 million downloads. We put a few doctors in a call center, serviced about 200,000 chats, and really was really proud of the platform, the product, the adoption, and solving of the need. The challenge, of course, as a young startup comes down to monetization, and truth be told, we were unable to monetize that product. So it was an interesting experience, Surya.
Excellent. I mean, it's always, rich, I would say, in terms of not just experience, but also the learning.
That's
When you
right.
have your own startups, you get to know and learn hands-on right from the scratch. And
Exactly.
that's an immense amount of value. Well, great stuff, Adrit. So
Yeah.
just moving on to our discussion points for the day.
Yeah.
Um, can you explain the journey of digitalization in insurance and where we are today with the advent of platforms like low code and no code?
Yeah, so I think maybe before I jump into that, the one point that's important to establish here is
Yep,
how do I think of the various categories of insurtechs, right?
yep,
So I think from my perspective, insurtech is a fairly broad topic. And I believe it's broken into what I would say three broad categories. You've got the enablers. And what I mean by enablers are the guys that, in essence, work on technology transformation, digital transformation, and really enable the insurance industry to become better and more efficient. And I'll spend more time on that, specifically the question that you asked, right? The, the second are the distributors. And these are, typically the insurtechs that, in essence, have found innovative ways to distribute insurance. Now, some of them could be in the framework of embedded, such as my past startup, Symbol, which is still doing embedded insurance in India. Or you've got aggregators like Policy Bazaar, or you've got various other international frameworks like Lemonade and Hippo that really sort of operate a direct-to-consumer type framework, right?
yep,
And then lastly, you've got the manufacturers, and manufacturers are tougher as insurtechs because it needs capacity, it needs heavy capital. But you are seeing, manufacturers also come into light. Of course, India's got some great examples like Digit and Acco. But globally, you've got Sunday in Thailand, you've got the One Insurance, which was recently acquired by WeFox, and a whole bunch of others. So I think with that, I wanted to just, I guess, set the baseline that there are three types of insurtechs: enablers, distributors, and manufacturers. And CoverGo specifically firmly sit in the enabler space. And our sweet spot really is about digital transformation, being flexible, and utilizing no code and low code technology for insurance policy administration. So with that, let's go back into the question. Perhaps for the audience, why don't you just repeat the question and I'll get into it?
Absolutely. So the question was, can you explain the journey of digitalization in insurance and where we are today with the advent of platforms like low code and no code?
Yes, of course, Surya. So I think what's really interesting is we can start as far back as the 60s and 70s, right? Where people started really automating processes. We then come to the 90s and 2000s where we started seeing the rise of the internet era. But really, I believe that in the last 10 years, in the last decade or so, right, the emergence of new technologies such as AI, you've got big data analytics, you've got the IoT, which is the Internet of Things. Sort of, you have all of these new age technologies that are coming together to really enable insurers to process and analyze large amounts of data, which ultimately drive better understanding of product, claims, personalization, and service. So I think that's what we're really seeing. And of course, the advent of platforms like low code and no code, such as CoverGo, has further accelerated this digitalization journey. Insurers can now create and deploy digital solutions very quickly
Hmm.
with very little actual coding. So, in essence, you take the dependency away from what I call the traditional IT technology structure and put it in the hands of business users, right? And this is where insurers can now leverage this no code technology to truly, create digital experiences, cater to their end customers' ever changing needs and preferences, and start building sort of a customer first approach to insurance delivery and claims efficiency.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. As it's beautifully, mentioned on the journey of internet, right?
Yeah.
So I think there was a time when building a website was a very big thing. There was a kind of separate vertical businesses that used to run just for that.
Absolutely.
And similarly now, if you see, anyone and everyone can do it. You don't really need to learn coding or anything of such nature. And similar to that, I think low code no code platforms are revolutionizing the way platforms will be built for insurers.
Absolutely. And, I believe we are at the cusp of what I would call a new era in technology for insurance. Insurance has been fairly stagnant as compared to its distant yet near cousins such as banking, right?
Right. Yeah.
Um, and you're seeing that change happen now. And I'll give you one example where, when I think of CoverGo or similar no-code platforms, something as simple as the process that insurers embark when it comes to creating a new product or modifying an existing product, as they go through their underwriting journey and perhaps the regulatory journey, they then have to sort of work with their IT teams to get it live. Inevitably, that's a 6 week to a 6 month process.
Right.
And that is so inefficient, right? Whereas when you look at what CoverGo offers, you've actually got the ability to create the product in a day or even less.
Yeah. Yeah. I think productivity would matter a lot, when
Absolutely.
yeah. Perfect. So, moving on to the next question, Adrit. How are low-code technologies transforming the insurance industry, and what specific benefits do they bring to insurers in terms of efficiency, speed, and customer experience? Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, very much so. And I think it's very important to tie technology to business outcomes, right? And I
Right.
think, as you rightly said, efficiency, speed, and customer experience are just some of them. So let me go through sort of my sort of thinking here. I think there are about five key levers here, right? One, we definitely see improved efficiency, and what I mean by that is insurance companies can now build via low-code platforms, test, learn, deploy, fail, but fail quickly, right? So the key here is the ability to speed up and execute their go-to-market strategy using a local platform has tremendously impacted their efficiency, right? And how does this happen? You've got pre-built components, you've got templates. As I said, you've got this shift of dependency from IT to business, where you really enable business users to be able to create and distribute products without having technology dependencies. All of this leads to fundamentally a faster time to market and the ability to sort of test, learn, scale, or fail fast in a significantly faster time frame.
Right.
That was one.
Yeah.
Now let me go through the others, right? So with that, so the first, of course, being improved efficiency. The second is better customer experience. Now, what I mean by this is your end customer is king, and using low code technology ensures that companies can truly deliver customer centric sort of solutions. And I'll give you a simple example. If you think of health insurance as a category, customers aren't aware of what their benefits are. They aren't sure, whether they can avail of cashless claims. They aren't clear whether they can get discharged from hospitals, right, in a timely manner. But just imagine when you have a connected layer with low-code technology playing a part, your customer should be able to seamlessly experience their insurance product, its benefits, and ultimately, when the moment of truth really happens, which is a claim, they should really experience a seamless framework, leveraging this technology framework. So, yeah, second, better customer experience. The third is automation of processes. Now, this is something that's been done through RPA, a little bit of AI that we are all hearing about, but really it's about how do you make claims management, underwriting, and policy administration straight through. So the key word is straight through processing with no human touch or limited human touch. And again, all of this is made available through a local platform. Fourth is the flexibility and agility that the low code and no code platforms offer. And what I mean by that is we are seeing markets change in a significantly faster pace than they ever have before. Consumers are consuming products very differently. Mobile phone penetration is at an all time high, and consumer behavior is changing day to day, minute to minute. How do you keep up with that if you have a technology platform that doesn't allow you to do so? So that's where, again, the no code, low code platform really offers flexibility and agility. And lastly, and this is what I would call true business impact, there is an actual dollar saving, so cost saving. So low code technologies really simplify the development process. It reduces the requirements of high cost, sort of specialized developers. The archaic old way of having monolith systems with significant amount of T&M structures have all gone. And now really it's around a SaaS based low cost OpEx approach, which really allow insurers to benefit from this. So in summary, right, the five things I mentioned: improve efficiency, better customer experience, automation of processes, flexibility and agility, and ultimately cost savings are really what the low code and no code technologies are offering to the insurance industry.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfectly penned down, Adrit. I have
Thank
one
you.
quick query, just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
RP and customer experience. So we are actually seeing the evolution of bots everywhere, not just in insurance and banking, and even many other sectors like supply chain and others.
Indeed.
So as a customer, we of course we always want speedy answers, speedy solutions, and the point to point answers, and most importantly the human touch.
Yes.
But in case of a bots, even in insurance product or a claims process, the time it takes to answers and the options it provides to actually click on to the next question, it
Yes.
actually doesn't serve the purpose of the customer. And I've seen, as per the various surveys, that customers are really not happy with the RP or the bot element for their customer service. So
Correct.
how exactly do you think we can solve this problem? Because it's good to have a technology, but it's even much more better to have the technology that will solve the real issues.
Yeah, Surya, this is a proper, $1 million question, right? And if you had that, then we wouldn't be talking. So, but let me try and give you my views, right? So I think chatbots in general have seen sort of a mixed outcome, right? And
Right.
you are right in pointing out that the efficiency of the chatbot, the accuracy of the chatbot, the delays associated with bots have unfortunately almost hindered customer experience and customer service than actually work in its favor, right? So I think my overall view is, bots were an initial innovation that started out in the last few years, that has evolved and will continue to evolve to something. And we're beginning to see that. So if you look at ChatGPT or another company that I was following called Qly.ai, you're beginning to see where, the response is very much more accurate. The response is more timely. The response is more relevant. It's more personalized. And all of this is only possible, by the way, when, someone said this to me the other day and it really resonated with me. To make it really simple for the customer, one must have a very complex underlying backend, right?
Yeah,
Because what
yeah,
you need to be able to do is you need to be able to consume a lot of data, and you need to have a very connected technology framework to be able to get hyper personalized, be timely, be relevant, and ensure that these automation levers really work in favor of customer service and customer experience rather than against you.
right. Yeah, perfect. So moving on to the last part of our discussion for the day, Adrit, can you share a real life example of an insurance company that successfully implemented low code platforms for digital transformation? And what were the key benefits they derived, and what was the real impact? Something on these aspects.
Yeah, no, great question, Suri. And I think this is where what I say, the rubber hits the road when it comes to demonstrating real impact to
Yeah,
business
yeah,
outcomes, right? So I'll give you a couple of examples here. So we work at CoverGo. We work closely with a few partners. Well, we're now all over the world, right? So we actually have presence primarily in Asia Pacific. We have now partners in Europe, in the Americas, fairly late stages of closing something in the Middle East, which we'll be talking about fairly soon. But really, I'll give you a couple of examples from my region in Asia Pacific. So we work closely with AXA in Thailand, and AXA Thailand was an interesting use case where they wanted to move their current TPA into an in-house service capability, right? And in essence, what they were trying to sort of do was tie in that claims framework where the end member or the end customer, the various touch points, which would be the providers and the HR and any other distribution folks, and of course the core claims handlers within AXA, had the ability to seamlessly manage claims. And what was really interesting is the way our platform is built, it's been built in a modular approach, which means one doesn't need to take the entire end to end. One can choose to take things in a modular capacity. And this is a great example where AXA was able to demonstrate significant efficiencies in their claims process when it came to, say, cashless billing, when it came to being able to sort of trigger fraud, waste, and abuse markers, when it came to sort of automating certain straight through processes associated with claims. So, this is where sort of the insurance company like that was really able to benefit. Another example, Surya, is our partner in Hong Kong. And we actually work with some of the largest partners in Hong Kong. We work with MSIG and with Bupa. And what's really happening there is we're beginning to see a requirement, and this was the original requirement, where how do I now look at my legacy system, which is 30 years old, find a way to sort of modernize and digitize my capabilities to create new products, launch quicker, go to market fast, and drive efficiency in an environment which my old technology doesn't allow that. So we were able to then come in, really offer that solution. And I'll give you the actual example where MSIG, we were able to sort of help their business users, train them for maybe an hour, 2 hours, in the framework of training them how to build the products. And the business users just went back and built about 144 products within 2 weeks. Now, just imagine that in the sense of traditional insurance companies, a single product might take as long as 6 months if you start filtering it into the IT system. So, those are two valid and live examples that I'd like to share with you today.
Excellent. I think some of the real life cases are something that gives the flavor on the real application and how it's going to benefit,
Indeed.
especially as a testimony for others who are looking for such options in the future. Um,
Absolutely, Surya. And I just want to conclude by saying,
yep,
coming from the business side rather than the technology side, I
yep,
completely appreciate that because at
yep,
the end of the
yep.
day, a technology platform has to help me either sell more or sell better,
Right.
has to help me either reduce cost or bring in efficiency, or
Yep,
lastly, has to be able to enhance my customer service and ultimately my NPS score. So it's got to be
yep,
one of these three key levers, right?
yep, yep. True. Well, fantastic. Thank you so much, Adrit, and thanks for the discussion and sharing your thoughts. A true delight to have you as our guest.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure, Surya. Thank you for again hosting me, and it's been wonderful getting to know you and speaking on your podcast.
Thanks so much, Adrit. And last to wrap this up, thank you for listening and see you at our next episode. Take care and stay safe.